785.
What's 785?
The number on the etched in the back of this gun.
They can probably tell you. See, Greg, see it's metal and not wood? Yeah, Battlefield, they could probably tell you.
Yeah, a lot of these barrels are original barrels to the time period. Almost all of them, but nothing else is.
Right.
I mean, so much smarter to make these out of metal.
Yeah.
Paint them every few years. This is a howitzer, a 12-pounder howitzer, which means it fires a 12-pound ball. Howitzers have a high trajectory. The last one we saw was a 6-pounder gun. Guns fire a flat trajectory. And we still have howitzers today.
And they're smooth bore, right?
No, I think they are. I don't think they are.
Well, this one, is this one a smooth bore?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, this one. Yeah, this is a smooth bore. Yeah. Yeah, that would have been made well before the war. No, actually, I'm wrong. Yeah, 1842. Yeah, they were made. Those howitzers were made before the war.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the Pulaski artillery. They were actually that way, probably 100 yards at least. This is not really the right spot, but if you look over here on Bloody Hill, which is over here, you can see how, as the Union moved forward, you can see how they took them in the flank and why this was bad for the Union Army. And Plummer's guys, the field is the race, cornfield is over there, so they're moving down in this direction. Well, the battery is over there, trying to get to the battery over there. You can see what a commanding position this is. Sweet. I want you to look at the field down there, the valley of Wilson's Creek or Wilson Creek. When we get down to the bottom, we'll talk about that again. Questions about the Pulaski County Artillery? Yes.
So what determined whether you counterfired the batteries over there or you went after troops?
Well, you can reach out and touch them from here.
Oh, really? The troops were...
Yeah, the troops. I mean,
The Union troops were that close to this?
No, the Union troops are on this hill over here.
Right.
Not in the valley. They're on that hill. Yes.
Did you target the troops or did you target the battery?
They would have targeted the troops.
Okay.
But then batteries on that hill begin to counter bat. You begin to have counter battery fire.
Right.
After a little, once these guys start opening up.
So you're telling me that they're gonna hit the hill with this gun?
Yes.
Wow, man.
So
You're
Doug,
looking at about a maximum effective range of about 1,600 yards.
so orient me to this federal position. Are they left to right in front of us? Are they kind of oblique to
They're
us?
oblique. And that was the problem because you're marching along. You can fight somebody in your front, but when you get somebody from an oblique angle on your flank, that's when you begin to have problems, when you're vulnerable.
So they're kind of like this.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
And not a question, but a comment, or maybe a question. Who commanded most of the guys and the guns in this Pulaski Battery pre-war? You probably know the answer to this. It was James Totten who commanded the Federal Artillery Battery.
They're dueling with Totten.
Yeah.
These guys were trained by the guy that they're dueling with on the other race. Is that crazy or what?
That was in the recesses, but I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew you knew that. I was teeing it up for you.
I didn't come up with it, so I still failed.
Yeah. You're gonna have to double the amount we made you pay to come on this tour. Yeah. Yeah.
Other questions about this spot?
You know, I don't mean to be like a friend of ours that sharpshoots. You know how many guns Pulaski had?
I believe he had 4.
Okay, you redeemed yourself there. So.
4 in the Confederate was generally a battery in the Confederate Army.
Okay.
The State Guard had weird numbers of batteries. They might have had 3, they might have had 4, they might have had 5, but this being a Confederate battery, I believe they had 4.
Okay.
Didn't it depend on what they stole on that day?
Yeah.
That always helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can increase your battery size if your infantry captures enemy cannons.
So in a lot of battlefields that we've studied and I've studied, artillery is used effectively or it's not used effectively. Cavalry's used effectively and ineffectively. This was one where both North and South, their artillery was used effectively, but the cavalry was largely ineffective. Is that right?
Cavalry was ineffective here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was mostly an infantry slugfest, but artillery did play an important role. Yeah, when we get to Bloody Hill, we'll see, or we'll at least talk about, I'm sure, the flanking movement of the South Kansas, Texas.
That should have been
regiment
awesome, but was largely ineffective.
That was completely worthless.
Yeah.
Cavalry against artillery is a bad idea.
Your horse is tender. Right.
So this was the location of the Edwards family. That is not the original cabin. It was moved. It is a. It's a witness cabin or not, but it's a historic cabin, and it was moved here to represent the Edwards cabin. In fact, it might even say there. Okay, so that one was built about 3 miles from here in the 1850s.
So is this the spot of the famous acoustic shadow?
Yeah. Oh, no, okay, this is an Edwards cabin. Same guy, but he built a different cabin, and then the Park Service moved this here later. So if it was 3 miles from here, anywhere close to the Wire Road, it would have certainly been a witness. We're going to say it's a witness cabin, Lori.
Okay, sounds good. It looks like it. Nobody will argue. We all agree.
So that's Bloody Hill there. And actually, I think you can see in the very middle of the hill, I think you can see a marker.
Yeah. But Doug, is this the spot where the generals couldn't hear
Yes.
the fighting that was over the other hill because
Yes.
of acoustic?
Right. Price and McCullough are having breakfast here in the morning, and a rider shows up from Rains. Now, General Rains did not have a very good time. McCullough had no confidence in a battle called Doug Spring near the modern town of Clever. He is routed by the Union Army. So McCullough has no confidence in him. Rains says a runner to say that we're under attack, and McCullough's like, forget it. So a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes later, another runner says that we're under attack by 5,000 or 10,000 troops, whatever. And McCullough says, that's not true. Finally, a third runner comes that he believes more than he believes the other runners. And finally McCullough says something like, you guys must be mighty spooked over there. I'll be along in a minute. And then about that time, the cavalry that we talked about in stop 1 that's been delaying the Union advance, they pop over this hill, and artillery rounds started landing down here. McCullough jumps up, goes to take charge of his troops, and Price begins to organize the State Guard, which is spread out on this side of the river, all along the valley here, thousands of them. And he begins to organize them down here around the cabin, and they eventually march up Bloody Hill to confront the Federals. And the Federals are stalled now on the top of that hill because of the Pulaski County Artillery Battery firing into their left exposed flank. And it takes a little while, and I don't really understand what took Lyon so long, but he's on the crest of Bloody Hill for a long time, an hour at least, not really moving, engaging in counter battery fire. But the State Guard is here now, organizing into these, into long linear formations to march up the hill, which takes time, getting the troops, getting their ammunition. There's mass confusion. So it takes a while for them to organize, and Lyon is just really kind of sitting there for an hour or so. But that's what's going on down here. Huge line, 2 ranks deep of state guardsmen getting ready to march up that hill and being organized.
We obviously didn't have the chance, because he perished, to get an after-action report or anything from him. But could he have been waiting for Siegel?
Well,
Since that was the plan.
That is part. You're right. That is part of the mystery. He wanted Siegel to get into blocking position, which we'll see in the next stop, or a couple stops. He wants to see him get into blocking position so then he can attack. And that's the speculation, that maybe he's waiting for Siegel. And he has no way to know other than listening to the guns, because there's no non-line of sight communications other than couriers. And I think Greg pointed out earlier, you can't get couriers through the middle of the battlefield when the bad guys are in the middle of the battlefield.
I'm no tactician, but I figured that one out.
So you need me after all.
I didn't say that.
The communicator. You
I didn't
need me
say
after
that.
all.
So then McCullough leaves, and his headquarters is back on the other side of the creek, not too far from where the Pulaski County Artillery is, except it's right on the Wire Road. And from there, he organizes the force that the 2nd Arkansas Mounted Rifles and the 3rd Louisiana Infantry. He organizes that force that goes and fights in Ray's cornfield and defeats Plummer's detachment that's coming down to try to drive off the Pulaski County Artillery. So you can see how it's kind of all connected. This causes that.
It's a lot closer in than I pictured.
It's not a huge, no, this is not a huge battlefield by Civil War standards. Yeah, I mean, you can see a lot of what happens in the battle just from this spot.
Wow.
Other questions or good observations or any observations?
Bad observations.
Bad observations?
So, as Greg's point is certainly valid, that communication between Siegel and Lyon would have been problematic. Certainly they would have known that ahead of time, and yet failed to communicate, and it really was their undoing.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a risky plan to start with, and you know it's a risky plan. Why did you leave that part out?
I think they're relying on hearing the artillery. Yeah. So that was a plan. You can argue that it was a terrible plan. Yeah. Okay. And with too many variables involved.
I mean, Lyon never really failed. He did the Camp Jackson affair where he captured all those guys. He won at Boonville, right? And then he had pushed the Confederate forces all the way to the southwest corner of the state. He'd never known defeat. He probably thought, this will be another pushover just like every other one we'd been in. And so let's just go at them. And yeah, sure, let's split our forces. It'll be great. These guys suck. We can take them. And he was a little bit wrong about that for once, and it cost him his life.
And some folks that have narratives of the battle, they talk about General Lyon being perplexed about what Siegel was up to and waiting to hear from General Siegel. Now, how in the world he expected to hear from him, once again, other than when the only really plan they had was to hear the artillery. So that was basically a flaw in the plan. I mean, Siegel's, well, we'll talk about Siegel's stuff at other stops, but it's a bad plan.
So the bombs were dropping here. Is that
They
what
were
you say, the
once,
battery?
Once the Federals topped the hill, yeah, they began firing artillery in this direction. Some of them. Some of them are firing over there at Pulaski County Artillery. Some of them are firing down here.
So do people come out and try to find remnants
Here?
Yeah.
Not unless they want to go to jail.
Oh.
You cannot medal
No.
on the national battlefield.
Okay.
Now they do sometimes, they'll bring teams out, and they did a number of years ago here at Wilson's Creek, where they really helped them find the right flank of the Union Army, particularly off the military reserve, off the national battlefield. Because the Union line extended across Highway ZZ on the other side of the road. So we're not going to see all of the Federal position. So metal detecting can be a good thing when it's organized and done by the Park Service, but no, you absolutely cannot metal detect here. Now you can go down to Pilot Knob where a lot of the battles on private property, and you can metal detect down there. There's a lot of people metal detect in Pilot Knob, but not here.
You think if I'm on a firing line and I pull that cartridge out, I buy it off my powder, I drop the ball, I'm just going to get another ball, and that other ball stays there. And so that's how they find where was this line, first position, second position, third position. They go metal detect, and they can kind of extrapolate from what they find. Oh, okay, we were wrong about where this line was because the evidence shows here's where it was. And so that kind of thing happens all the time, and we need more of it, honestly. But Joe Schmuckatelli with his metal detector out on a random Saturday, that's not good.
In those lines, like Greg's explaining how those musket balls get in the ground, and there are hundreds of them. In the stress of combat, they're dropping balls all the time. They could open it, it could fall out, one could fall out of their pocket, but it's a pretty clear line. Where was that? Oh, Pea Ridge. They did battlefield archaeology at Pea Ridge a number of years ago and produced a book, and then they have where all these rounds are found, and it's amazing how you can just in a straight line hundreds of drop balls, drop cartridges.
Plus, that's where the other side was aiming.
Yeah.
So the fired bullets are going to end up
right
pretty grouped.
Well,
When
a little
when
bit,
they're
yeah.
fired, are they changed?
If they hit something, they changed. Yeah, they'll be blunted. Or those mini balls, they're flared at the end and hollow, and so they expand when they're fired. So they'll change shape a little bit, but then when they hit something, they change shape too.
They found hasty graves before on battlefields from that because of the balls in the remains. You can't dig it out, you bury them, of course, and then there's something here, and you dig, and they found, especially around Gettysburg, they found here's 8 sets of human remains that we did not know previously. Then these private guys will find that, and then they'll call people and get it kind of figured out who they must have been and why they were there, and so